staff. So for instance, I have a rule that I don't send emails in the evenings. I write emails in the evenings, but I send them to the mornings because I don't think it's fair for people who do have their phone by their bed to get a buzz from their supervisor late at night and feel a need to respond. I learned that lesson from being the person on the responding side of my supervisor in other jobs. So I think it's really important if you're in a leadership position to take extraordinary measures to protect your staff, to encourage them to take breaks, to ensure that you're asking them about their workload in a way that feels safe, that they can answer it, and not expect them to come to you and say, I have too many things on my plate, especially now when people are extra worried. I think it's really important to model breaks
on what's in our control, and to try to let go of the things that are not in our control that we're worrying about, whether that's the economy or what have you. And when we can focus on what's in our control, then we can really utilize our resources to both take care of ourselves, but also to problem solve. If that's the case, then if whatever the case may be, if we're the ones being let go or we're the ones having let people go. And I think at the end of the day, one of the things to remind ourselves is that we are really resilient as people. Humans are very resilient. People have lost jobs before. People have overcome lots of different adversities, whether it's divorce or loss of a loved one. And we do, even in the moment, if we don't feel like we're going to come through, we do generally come.
But to do the kind of work my team and everyone on this call does in a time of unprecedented global crisis is really the perfect storm of stress. And I think there's sort of three ways that that's true. The first is that the drumbeat is constant. And this is always true for PR. You all know that, but it's exacerbated by the situations that we're facing. The ebb and flow of news events requires us to stay in a heightened awareness mode, pivot our strategies with little warning, rethink our approaches as events change. We can't choose to shut out the news to help us cope because the news is our job. And as things evolve, we have to evolve the way we communicate about them. So for instance, APA has been educating people about the impact of stress through our annual Stress in America survey for the past 13 years. And every year the findings help us elevate awareness of the levels of stress in the United States around key subjects or issues, and then educate about the impact.
For people who have not been thinking about their mental health, the time is now. We absolutely need to be thinking about what do we need. When we feel stressed and overwhelmed, that's a sign that the demands on us are exceeding our resources for managing it. So to the extent that we can put some brakes on some of the demands, even temporarily, becomes really critical. So then we can take that time to do the things to take care of ourselves. We need to have a reasonable foundation of adequate sleep and nutrition and hydration, physical activity, and social connection in order to go about our world. But when we are feeling that everything we're doing is so critical and so important, we often cut corners in those domains. We have the snacks super handy, as I do in my home office, or we sleep less. We shave off 30 minutes or an hour, or we decide, I can skip the workout today. But it's really when we're stressed and overwhelmed that it becomes critical to do those things for our overall well-being. It would be ideal if you had good practices in that arena prior to feeling stressed and overwhelmed, because it's easier to maintain.
People, where we fall short is we try to just rely on willpower, right? Just sort of this idea that we'll say we'll do it and then we'll do it. And then something, another email comes or a phone call happens or somebody wants you to look at this. And before you know it, it's 9 o'clock at night and you didn't do the things you said you were going to do. So I think in addition to having an accountability partner like Lynn talked about, it's critical to use your resources around you, like your schedule. Block off time in your schedule to prioritize and use that as a priority for what you want to do. So I know that I am most successful. Working out is obviously a big thing for Lynn and I, when I put it on my schedule. And I just say, I'm not going to be available for this hour. I'm going to work out this hour. And then it actually happens. Same thing with, getting enough sleep or taking breaks from your devices. Don't just say, I'm going to take a break from my device and put it on your coffee table. Put it in a different room. Keep it far away from you so that you can really take that hour to not be checking email, to not be scrolling through social media. Because again, while it's important to stay informed and involved, we do have to take breaks. We know that being constantly connected to our device.
And I think the stress has definitely been amplified during the pandemic because you have to consider that a number of people have been furloughed. I think our research suggests that 60% of the industry in the UK have furloughed staff, and the boundaries between work and home are a little bit more blurred. So I think the presenteeism is at an all-time high, and people are working overtime. And what I would say, for me, it's important to set boundaries and focus on a few small things that can improve your well-being. I know that there's a lot of advice out there on how to manage your mental health, and it can be overwhelming. So trying to incorporate meditation, exercise, virtual catch-ups, all of that into a full workday, and having to care for children or elderly parents can be exhausting, and it can often have the opposite effect. So I would, suggest that avoid the sort of social media and Instagram trap where you're comparing yourself to other people and seeing what they're doing, because it can be quite triggering. I know for me, like Lynn and Vaile, I enjoy working out, and that's what helps me sort of decompress. And I have sort of hard stops in my workday to accommodate that, but that might not work for everyone. And it can be very triggering to see people doing, these incredible workouts at home. But just figure out what works for you, and again, hold yourself accountable. Maybe ask the people you live with to hold you accountable, or ask a friend to check in on